Today is June 26, 2024. My name is Bobby Goodman, and I have the pleasure of interviewing Julie Shrell. Julie, thank you for your time and being here today.
My pleasure.
Great. Julie, please tell us a little bit about your background. Where and when were you born? Tell us a little bit about your family life growing up.
I was born in Dallas. My parents were Ed and Sally Jenikov, and I was born in 1962. And in my mind, I had the best childhood that you could have because my dad was home for dinner every night. He was involved in things he was an orthodontist, and he was involved with his societies, but he was also involved with whatever my brothers and I did. So was my mom, Girl Scout leader, Indian guys, chief, baseball coach, just everything. And I feel like for the most part, I was really lucky. We would go to Lake Texoma every Sunday or every weekend, and my brothers and I would sleep in the front of the cabin and sweat because it was vinyls, and my parents were both only children, so we were their life. They each, my grandfathers died young, and my grandmothers, one lived here and one lived in California, and so we were it. And like the most important thing my dad always said is just the three of you, and if you don't get along, I'm putting you in a room, locking the door, and you're going to work it out.
Awesome. Well, where were your grandparents from, and then where were your parents born?
So my dad was born in Fort Worth. He was premature. He was 3 pounds, and he was a blue baby. He was Rh positive, and his mom was Rh negative. So at that time, the fact that he survived is just a huge thing. And he was their only child. And then my mom was born in LA. But the interesting thing is that both of my grandfathers were born in Texas. My dad's father was born in Waco, and my mom's father was born in Palestine. So my dad's mom was born in St. Louis. So.
And you were born in Dallas.
I was born here. Yeah.
Your siblings?
Jeff was born in New Jersey, and then David and I were both born here.
And so you were born here. How did your parents end up in Dallas?
Okay, so my dad was raised in Dallas from about the time he was 11 or 12, and he went to Highland Park High School. He was an All-American football player, and he went to Texas, and then he came back and went to SMU for a while when his dad was sick, and then he ended up graduating from Texas, but he went into dental school and went to Baylor here in Dallas and became a dentist, and then went into the Navy, and he was stationed in Japan. He was a dentist, and it was after the Korean War, so he was stationed in Japan, in Korea, and I think in Korea, and he was stationed on the aircraft carriers, so he was fascinated with airplanes. And when he came back to the States, he went to LA, and one of his friends was also a dentist, was engaged, and the person that he was engaged to was friends with my mom, and they met at a bar.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, they met on a blind date, really. And so they, when my dad got into orthodontics at the program at Columbia, he proposed to my mom, and they moved up to New Jersey, and then they had Jeff. When he finished that program, he came back here.
Very nice. So let's talk a little bit about your childhood. I know you said it was it was great. What part of town did you live in? What did you do for fun? Kind of take me through some of the activities you did.
We lived right before I was born. My parents bought a house. It was north of Northwest Highway, which was really far north, according to my grandmother. And she didn't understand why my parents wanted to move so far north, but they could afford a house, and that's where we lived, and it was great, and we could walk to elementary school. I went to public elementary school through 4th grade. I went to preschool here at the J, and so around the time I was in 4th grade, they started busing in Dallas, and my parents didn't want me to get bused somewhere, so I ended up going to Green Hill, and I went there for 5 years, and then I went back to WT White. So I graduated from White, and I was very involved in BBYO. I was involved in I was on drill team. I was a cheerleader at Green Hill. I went to Hebrew school. I went on the teen tour with Jack Malott. It was the greatest experience ever. And he said, "Of course you're going to graduate from Hebrew school, aren't you?" And we would do whatever he wanted. So yes, so he did. And so I lived at the J. I mean, we went to camp here, went to sleepaway camp, but was very involved. Sheriff Israel, the J, BBYO, everything. And then I went to University of Texas and pledged A-Phi. And I have friends that I've had since I was 2 years old, and I'm still friends with.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you went off to Texas. You're on your own. You still get involved with A-Phi, Jewish
Yes.
Sorority. Most of the people you hung out with, was it because of the way you were raised in a Jewish environment? I mean, did you feel anti-Semitism, or how was it back then?
I didn't really feel anti-Semitism. But what was challenging is that my father said that I couldn't date anyone who wasn't Jewish. And that closed the walls around me to a certain extent. But with the way we were brought up and going to the synagogue, and my dad was president of the synagogue, and we went to Hebrew school twice, 2 days a week, and Saturdays. I knew who I was, and I knew that I was going to end up with a Jewish family, so I didn't worry about dating people who weren't Jewish, but that was a really big thing for him, and I had to force my way into being able to just be able to choose who I went out with and not have it be so structured. That was challenging.
And I assume, I shouldn't assume, did y'all celebrate all the Jewish holidays at your home?
Yeah, we never had a sukkah that I remember, but we would go to Sukkot and stuff at the synagogue. We would go to all the holidays, and we had 2 nights of Passover. We celebrated 2 days of Rosh Hashanah. I mean, we did all the holidays. The holidays were very important. The biggest thing for us, I think, really was that both my parents being only children, family is so important. So family holidays, family events, family anything, we always went, and we were the youngest of the cousins for the most part, and we just were always together.
And so, going back to your college days, what'd you study at Texas?
I got a degree in organizational communications, which today is business communications, but it was in the communications school. I really wanted to be in advertising, but I hated the big classrooms, and so I did art for advertising for fun, and I ended up going into PR when I got out of school.
And so PR in back in Dallas?
I came home to Dallas, yeah.
For any particular firm, or?
I worked for, so my friend's mom worked for this firm, and I loved what she did. She was the publicist for the Dinner Playhouse here, and I just loved everything that she did, so I always wanted to be around her. So she was working for this PR firm, and I went to work there too. Didn't like the woman I worked for, who owned the firm, but I loved working with Margie. It was so fun.
That's fun. Any special projects that y'all did that were so meaningful to you?
It was interesting because we did a lot of fashion, and at that time, as I sound like an old person saying, and back in those days, there was a lot of fashion in Dallas, and my parents knew a lot of people who owned clothing companies, and some of them were our clients, and that was kind of cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Active in, I know you were involved in BBYO, active in any other civic organizations, or anything you're active in?
Well, I was a candy striper for a little while, Medical City. I can't, I'm sure I was, and off the top of my head now that you're asking me, I can't think of them, but I was involved in things in school. I was into French, and so I was in the French club. I loved that. I did drill team, and so we did things with that, and that was really fun in high school. And then in college, I worked a little bit while I was there, but I was also in the Texas Posse, which you have to be chosen for, which was a nice honor. It was only for freshmen, and that was fun. And then when I spent a semester in Paris, so I did my junior year abroad. I went to Paris which was wonderful. I went on an SMU's program there. It was fantastic. And then I came back and started working.
And so let's talk a little bit about your family life.
Okay.
How'd you meet? Well, just tell me about your family life. How'd you meet Rob?
So I'm married to Rob Shrell. He's from Minneapolis, and we have 3 kids. Marissa and Simone are twins, and Gavin. And Rob and I met at a wedding. A lot of my friends got married fairly young, and at every wedding I would go to, I'd meet somebody. And it just so happened that he had seen a picture of me from the shower at my friend's wedding, and his friend moved here and married her, and he says he picked me out of a lineup, and there you go.
And when did you get married? When
1989.
89. Where did you get married?
At Sheriff Israel. And then we had our reception party at the Grand Kempinski in the Malachite Ballroom. That was my dream.
And a little bit about your kids. What are they doing today?
So Marissa is married to Josh Kaufman, and Josh is from Greensboro, North Carolina. And they met. She was working for AFI, and he was working for ZBT, so that was the perfect shidduch. And she works for WeWork, and she's in the community lead there, and he works for Southern Glazers, selling liquor. He's having fun.
Good.
And Simone is a speech pathologist. She had learning differences and ended up going to Shelton School, and she just realized that she wanted to give back. And as hard as school was for her, she got a master's degree in speech pathology, and she does 0 to 3 intervention. Little kids, when they turn 3, they're done. They go on to somebody else. And she's married to Aaron Noble, which is really fun because his family grew up at Sheriff Israel with my family. They're so it's nice because it's kind of like home a little bit. And Gavin's still looking. He's trying to figure it out all the way around. And Aaron works for a marina company, which is really fun.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Active now in any organizations, or I know you are.
Yes. So, I was very helpful with Anshe Torah when it was in its early state. I was their first PR marketing type person on the board. And in 2010, I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and in 2012, I started a foundation with 3 other survivors called Be the Difference Foundation. And we support women fighting ovarian cancer by funding research and patient support and education and research. Did I say research already? Yeah, research. Yeah.
How
That's
proud.
a big thing. Yeah,
how proud.
To date, we have, and this is, 12 years later, we've raised over $5 million and been able to donate the majority of the money that we raise. That's amazing.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
You should be very proud.
I'm very proud. I hope that whoever sees this, whenever you see this, that we're still around. But I really hope that we're not, because we would have found a cure. So if there is a cure for ovarian cancer, maybe we were the catalyst for that.
Awesome. Awesome. You're now at Anshe Torah. You're on their board and the whole
I'm
bit.
not. Marissa is.
Okay. And so how... growing up in Dallas as a Dallasite, thinking back to your days of a kid playing around and going to school and being involved, how would you say that, if or how has it changed at all from when you are to how you see it today?
Like education and things?
Just the city of Dallas itself, whether it be what's going on in this world, and also just how a kid grows up. It may be the Judaism or what have you.
I do see that it is different. Like, we knew where we were going, what we were doing. If our parents said you were doing this, whether we liked it or not, we did it. We didn't argue. We would maybe pout or, kick and scream going there. But my dad used to say, I want you to do this, and you didn't say no, you just did it. Now, kids, if you tell them you want them to do it, they either want to know why, or they say no, I don't want to. Like, I don't get that. I do know that as my kids have grown up, they realize how important it is to honor your parents, like we did. But there was a time where I wasn't so sure that was going to be the case. I think it's hard, and we were able to just go out and ride our bikes and come home when the sun went down and go trick-or-treating with our friends, and we never had to worry that someone was going to take our kid. And even when our kids were growing up, we would never let them out of our sight. And I don't know when that changed, but it did. And I don't know how, I don't have grandkids yet, but I wonder how they're going to grow up, because our kids are not going to want to raise them exactly the way we raised them, because when they were growing up, everybody got a trophy. Everybody was a winner. Everybody, everything was the same for everyone. And that doesn't really work. But yet, everything is available. Everything is on the internet. Nothing, you don't have to work for anything. It's all there. And so I don't know what that's going to be like. I think that kids don't, I was just talking to somebody, and she said, my parents said I didn't have to work, but I always wanted to work. And that's kind of how I felt. My parents said my job was to get good grades and go to school, and then I could work. But I always wanted to do something. Not all kids have that drive, and they think that everything should be given to them, and I don't understand that. So I'm hoping that we're going back to a little bit of, not quite as far back as the 50s type of, raising kids, but more like we were raised, where, there's a little more freedom, but yet there's definitely, stops, like not all on the phone, not all on technology. It's come so fast.
Right. So how would you say the Jewish community, has it changed from the time that you were growing up as it is today?
There's so many more Jewish organizations. There's so many more synagogues, little synagogues, big synagogues. They break off and they're in a new one, and there's kosher everything. You can go to the grocery store and buy kosher meat, where when we were growing up there was one kosher butcher, and it was just like if you didn't go there, there was nothing. And it's amazing because it's easier to do. We keep kosher at home, and it's easy. I mean, now you have a non-dairy cheese, so you can make a cheeseburger and no one would ever know the difference. So that's very different, and I think Dallas has done a good job of growing the Jewish community in a good way, and today I would say I feel like we're pretty safe here. But I've never had to think about being safe before.
Right.
This is definitely something that's I never anticipated. I remember going to the Holocaust Museum when it came to the J, and Mike Jacobs talking to us about his experiences, and we went on the leadership development group with the Federation to Israel, and he took us, and we went to the concentration camps, and then went to Israel, and the fact that Israel came from like the phoenix out of this death is phenomenal. And just the way things are going right now, with so many people being so anti-Semitic and so vocal about it, I've never felt scared to be Jewish before. I never had to hide my being Jewish before, and I'm feeling much more guarded. I don't like it.
Right. Oh, I hear you. We stopped a little bit, or I didn't get to this. Let's go back for a second. What are you doing now? Because we talked. You started. You were in this PR when you got out of college. But what do you do today?
I'm a loan officer, and as my son used to say when he was little, I give people money so they can buy a house.
Nice.
So that's what I've been doing since right after 9/11. After my PR stint, I went to work for one of our clients, and the business was not doing well, so I went and got my real estate license, and I became a realtor. And then I met my husband, and I moved to Minnesota for 3 years. I came back with premature twins, and so I decided I really didn't have the time to get back into showing houses and things like that. So I worked for Solomon Schechter at the time. I created a job for myself, and I did their newsletter. And so I was around when my kids went to preschool.
Nice.
It was great. Gavin basically was born there. And then after 9/11, one of their friends' dads said, I can't answer my phone fast enough. Can you help me and come work with me? And he was a loan officer at Chase Bank, and I've been doing it ever since.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. So let me ask you this, Julie. So who's your role model?
Who's my role model? Well, I guess really my dad was my person. My mom was like my best friend. We had our moments, but she is still like my sounding board, even though she's not in a place where she can really support me now that way. But my dad was the one that I always wanted to get approval from, and he always supported what I did, even if he didn't always agree with it, and I'd have to fight him about it. But when I started selling real estate, he decided we needed to go out looking for houses to invest in. And we never bought one, but it was our way of being together. I started making some bridal books at one point, and he would go with me to Canton to go look for lace. You know, he was, and he was always, you know, both of my parents were my cheerleaders for sure. And I guess I talk more about my dad because he's been gone now for almost 15 years. And there are days where I just think he's still here, but he's not. And I miss him just being a part of our family and watching our kids not be afraid of dogs anymore, because he used to take us to the pet store so they could pet them and touch them. And he just loved being a dad and a grandfather and a friend. And I just always want to be the person that he wanted us to be. And I feel like I've done that.
So my final question, well, actually I may have one more after this, but what are you most proud of?
Well, I'm very proud of the foundation that we started and what we've done, and the support that we've been able to give women who have been diagnosed with ovarian cancer. One woman reached out to me one day, and I had put up my symptoms and stuff on Facebook, which, you know, is a fairly new invention, you know, since we grew up. But and she reached out to me and she said, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much for posting all of that, because I think you saved my life." She ended up having pancreatic cancer, and she did pass away, but she wouldn't have gone to the doctor had she not read what I wrote. And that, I'm very proud. I mean, I'm sorry that this has to be the way that I find, you know, pride in what I do, but I do feel like there's a reason I'm still here, and that's it. I'm proud of my kids. You know, we came here, I was 6.5 months pregnant, almost 7 months pregnant, and had premature twins, and they were in the NICU for 6 weeks, and they are wonderful people, and I feel like we were given a gift for that. I'm proud of the aunt that I am, because I adore my nieces and nephews, and now their kids, and I feel like, you know, I'm carrying on just the family centric life that my parents started. I've reached out to some cousins that I never knew to kind of tell them about the BRCA gene and my journey through ovarian cancer. And now I have these new cousins, and I'm very proud that I did that. We wouldn't know each other without that, and we were just in Northern California and spent time with one of my cousins, and it made me so happy that my brother got to really sit and visit with him. And before David died, he met the cousins that he had never met before, and I was so proud to just say I did this, and I'm connecting our family. I think that's really special. Yeah.
That is special.
Yeah.
Is there anything that I haven't asked that you'd like to add?
Well, I think that it's fun to be doing this, and I kind of want to say a little bit about my brother David, because he can't do this because he passed away a year and a half ago in a tragic car accident. But I'm really proud. I mean, when I talk about pride, I'm proud of my little brother because he was someone who changed the world, and he found the cure for a childhood disease that they'd never had a cure for. He saved lives. He was creative. He was smart. He was taken too soon, and I really feel like it's my honor to kind of carry his legacy as well. So I hope I'm here a long time to do that, and for my kids to enjoy life the way that we did, and to be able to provide for them grandparent life like we had. Yeah.
Very nice. Very
Thanks.
nice. Julie, thank you so much
Thank you,
for
Poppy.
sharing your story.
Should I say I worked for Goodies from Goodman when I was in high
Well,
school? I missed that.
I wasn't
going
to prompt that, but
I
you know,
did work for Goodies from Goodman, which was down the street, and Bobby was there, and he was in college, and I was in high school. So just say that. We all had crushes on him. Just saying that.
I think we'll just wrap it right there. Thank you, Julie.
It was so fun, though. That was a fun place to work. It really was.
Thank you. Our best years were when you were behind the counter.
Yeah, well, thank you. Selling candy.
There you go. Thank you so much.
Thank you.